welcome to my first make-believe cooking show. I'd use pretend, but Jennifer Gardner already beat me to it. So I'm going to share with you today my recipe for corn chowder. It is one of my family's favorites. We have 2 vegetarians in my home, so I cook the bacon separately. I'll show you how I do that. I've already got my oven heating up to 350. I'm using the convection one because it's a little bit faster, but I cook my bacon in the oven, and I'll show you how I do that. But I try to make this corn chowder simple and easy. Almost everything is now done in the same pot. If I do some onions, I don't think I have onions today, so I'm gonna leave onions out. So it's just gonna be potato, corn, and chowder. So I take whatever potatoes I happen to have in my potato drawer. Yes, you heard me right, I have a potato drawer. And I am going to really cut them up bite size. And I cook them bite size because they cook up faster that way. And nobody wants big, huge chunks of potato in their soup. So I do not typically peel my potatoes. I just chop them up the way that they came to me, with their skins on and everything. I know that some people have very strong opinions about what type of potatoes belong in something like a chowder. A lot of folks love Yukon Gold. I'm not gonna lie to you, that is a delicious potato, but I don't have any Yukon Gold today. I have these beautiful baking spuds that I gently washed off because they do tend to have a little bit of dirt on them, and did not peel, as I said, and I'm just chopping them up bite-sized pieces, so pretty tiny, about that size. They're gonna cook up super fast. And one of the tricks that my mom taught me, this is her recipe, was to cook the potatoes in just enough water to cover them so that that becomes part of the base. So there's a little bit of starchiness, because as we know, when you cook up potatoes, the water holds a fair amount of starch, and that sort of thickens our soup base. So that's what I do. And I really just eyeball this. I've never been one to cook too much with a recipe. I mean, that's why I'm not much of a baker, because I can't stand recipes. And I have a great dear friend of mine, her name is Amy, and she is an amazing cook, like totally amazing. She is a big recipe follower. And when our kids were little, we used to go on vacation together. You know, when you take those family vacations. And she is also this amazing planner, and I am not a planner. Anybody who knows me knows, not a great planner. And so when I find a potato, it's got like one of these yucky bits on it, I'm just gonna chop that yucky bit off. And I have the bag over here for scraps, because I also really am a big fan of cleaning up as you go. I do not like to have a great big mess when I am done with cooking. So I clean up as I go, and I have this great little chopping block here that I'm using. So anyways, Amy and I used to go on vacation together with our kids when they were little, and we would like rent a house on a beach or in Maine or something like that. And she would, the week before, send me this shopping list of the things I had to go to the grocery store and get, and the things she was gonna go get, along with the menu for each day that we were gonna be away, down to which meals we were eating out, which meals we were cooking. It was great. I used to think it was pretty funny, but I learned how to be a great sous chef, and I would do all the prep work. One day, we were making dinner, I don't know, pork chops or something, you know, and she always took the heavy lifting. So she did like the meat cooking, or the thing that, you know, was really gonna be the big deal. And I would do the, like I say, sous chefing or prepping or something like that. So one day, this meal, whatever this menu called for mashed potatoes. And she said, "You're on mashed potatoes." I was like, great. So I took the bag of potatoes and I got ready to rock and roll. And she handed me a recipe, like a card, like a recipe card. That was the day I knew we would be friends forever, because I handed it back to her. And I said, "You've got to be kidding me. You have a recipe for mashed potatoes?" I mean, and the card literally said, like, take a 5-pound bag of potatoes, peel the potatoes, cut them into chunks, put them in water. I think that's what it said. I was like, Amy, I'm not using a recipe card for mashed potatoes. She tried to talk me into it, and I was like, nah, it's not gonna happen. All right. So here is the trick to making really tasty, delicious soups, chowders, all that kind of stuff. I like to use broth, and because I think it adds more flavor than just water. If I was not making this for vegetarians, I would probably cook this in chicken broth, but I have vegetarians, and if I have vegetable broth around, I find that we don't use it up very quickly. So at my store, I usually shop at Highland Park Market, but I think you could find this anywhere. Are these little pots of better than broth, and it's basically bouillon that has been reduced, and it's just kept into this little pot. This one is a reduced sodium because I do try to keep us healthy on that score, but here's what it looks like on the inside, okay? Again, I told you I'm not a big recipe person, so I am just going to take, I think I usually use about a tablespoon of this. It's a pretty big spoon. I go in, I get a glop of it, and I put it in with the potatoes. There's no water in here yet. Okay, so that's done. Wipe that off. That'll go back in the fridge. This will go in the sink. And then I'm gonna come over to the sink, bring you with me. And I am literally just gonna put enough water in this to cover the potatoes, okay? A few little potato heads might be peeking right out of the top of the water. I'll show you exactly how full. Okay, so not much, because I'm gonna add milk and cream to this. So I wanna have enough room left over to build the base. So let me pick you up and show you that there is just enough water to cover those little potatoes, so they're just barely swimming under the surface, okay? Some of them are just sort of peeking out the top. I'm gonna put this on my stove here. I'm gonna turn that up to high so it gets moving along quickly. We're gonna eat this for lunch, so that means probably in about 20 minutes this should be done. I'm not gonna, bore you to death with every single detail, but now let's move on to bacon. So what I use is, and if you've ever watched real cooking shows, not make-believe cooking shows like this one, then you maybe have seen real professionals like Ina Garten and Martha Stewart and all those fabulous folk do something like this. So this is a tried and true half sheet pan, and then I picked this up at the dollar store. It is just a little rack, a little half sheet rack that goes in there. And we probably won't use an entire pound of bacon, so it's just my husband and I will add this on the side. Oh, I know, I hear you. Okay. I'm glad it beeps at me, otherwise I would just leave it open like that forever. Anyways, but it's always nice to have cooked bacon around. I don't know about you, but bacon is part of my nutrition, or part of my meal planning through the week. We will eat some bacon. But like I said, I always choose the natural bacon, the one without any nitrates. And this isn't opening very easily. And since I know I'm using the whole package, I'm just going to use my knife to get this package open. All right, so I like to cook the bacon in whole pieces, roasted. So I'm going to take this out, being careful not to get it too much all over everything. We want to be safe. Alrighty. And here we go. I'm gonna take each slice. So I think you get the general idea of this. We're just gonna lay these across here. They may be a little too big, no worries. They can be touching. I have found that that's okay because they do shrink up as they cook, and there's plenty of room left. This is not the thick cut, so it's gonna cook up pretty quickly. I have found that if I go higher than 350, it cooks too fast. And I like a thoroughly cooked bacon, but I don't like it overly crispy. However, for a soup like this, I do want it a little crispier than wobbly. You know what I mean by wobbly bacon, right? So this, I find cooking it this way makes it a lot more even, so that each piece is cooked similarly. If I cook it on the stove, sometimes the edges kind of hang out in one place or another, and then they get too underdone or too overdone. This just seems to work much better for me. And I can control it. And the bacon stays nice and flat, so if you're making BLTs or whatever, it doesn't really curl up the way it often does. So I'm running out of room a little bit here, so I'm gonna just kind of squish these a little bit closer together. While this bacon isn't thick, it is wide. It's wider than usual. And I do try to stick to a pretty reasonable food budget. There are things that I will splurge on because I believe in quality. So if I have to, cut to the budget in one place so that I can spend a little bit more on something like quality bacon, then I will. I feel like we don't eat a whole lot of meat because my daughters are vegetarians, but the meat that we do eat, I will use some of my budget on that if I can. But food shopping is tough. It can be very, very expensive. Feeding a family today is a lot of money. So, anywho, there we go. I'm gonna wash my hands because bacon is something we don't want to get it all over the place. Hello. Alrighty. So, I can get all that out from underneath my nails. I'm going to bring you with me. I have done this before and shown the best way to wash your hands per a surgeon, well, per Dr. Oz. And this is how surgeons wash their hands, okay? So they start here. They get some soap, obviously, and wipe the soap. And then they interlock their fingers like this and roll back and forth, back and forth. See what I'm doing? Then in between the fingers, then around each thumb, like this, then the backs of the hands. You don't need to spend a whole lot of time there, in between the fingers again, and then rub the fingers into the palm, rub the fingers on the other side into the palm, because it's the fingertips that you really want to get. And if you're just doing this, you're not really getting the fingertips very well. So right here, and right here. And then hot water. Whew, that's very hot. Phew, too hot. When it's steaming, it's a little too hot. And your hands are red and pink, a little too hot. Okay. So, that's that. Hands are nice and clean. And here's what the bacon looks like, all ready to rock and roll. And it's going to go in my 350 oven. I'm going to put it on the lowest rack to start and keep checking it. If it's cooking too fast, then I will bring it to the top rack. Gonna get the rest of the stuff ready for my corn chowder. So again, super simple. I believe I have everything here. The rest of this comes out of cans. Oh, those are peas. I know I bought this stuff. Oh, say it ain't so. Ah, there it is. This is why you get your stuff ready before your make-believe cooking show. All right, so 2 cans of creamed corn. Yep, cream style, okay. And 2 cans of no salt added sweet corn. That's it, those 4 cans. Make sure you get that cream style because that will make all the difference. Potatoes are boiling. Gonna take my wooden spoon. Now, with all of that vegetable bouillon, that big spoonful that I put in there, the broth looks very dark. And you're gonna think, wait a minute, chowder is supposed to be nice and creamy and white. It will, don't worry. It's sort of like translucent nail polish. It looks darker than it really is. It's really just coloring the water a little bit, but all of that good flavor from the vegetable broth will get into the potatoes and make them tastier. Yum, yum, yum. And then there's a few herbs and spices we're gonna add, okay? So I like to add herbs de Provence. These taste really tasty. I used to do just dill, but it got a little too one note. So herbs de Provence has, I don't know, this one doesn't say. Oh, here we go. Basil, rosemary, marjoram, sage, savory, thyme, and lavender. So it's a really lovely like bouquet that it adds to this, and yum, 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 I enjoy it. And then I will put a little bit of, let's see, I might add a little bit of this lemon pepper. I think a little bit of lemon is a little bit of lemon flavor. Like I would put actual lemon juice in a clear broth soup, but not in something with cream or milk. That would curdle it and that would not be tasty. But a little bit of lemon flavor brightens almost everything. So this lemon pepper, this Mrs. Dash lemon pepper, can be a really nice way to add that. So I'm gonna join you later when things are cooked up a little bit more.